We're all very, very happy. Excellent. It's good to be happy.
Good to be with you.
And also with you.
Good evening and welcome to The Joust. My name is Nagy. I'm here as always with my co-host Liam McNeil to cover another week of rugby league news. Now, Liam, for a week that didn't have any football in it, it's quite a bit happened. Probably with the most surprising was the new signing of Andrew McCulloch. Is it McCulloch or McCulloch?
Now, as far as I know, Nagy, it is McCulloch.
Yes.
From what I can tell from his Brisbane Broncos days and his State of Origin days, Brisbane McCulloch. But, obviously, when we get him on the show, we'll have to ask him and say, look, it's a similar situation with the Corey Horsburgh in Canberra. Is he Corey Horsburgh? Is he Corey Horsburgh? No one knows.
Burrow, maybe?
Horsburgh could well be. So, it could well be McCulloch.
Yeah.
So I think, look, once we get him on and have a bit of a chat with him, we'll narrow it down. So listeners will have that information for you soon.
We'll start with the name and we'll work outwards. But I think we'll talk about surprises through the week. I knew that obviously Jayden Brailey has found himself with an injury. Our very cursed number 9 jersey for the Newcastle Knights. I don't know what happened. Maybe it was some sort of witch doctor or something has been involved, but it seems ending the career of Rory Kostjason before even playing a game, and Slade Griffin as well. Both gentlemen on this side of 30. So I suppose it's this side. I'm 30 now, so what can I say this side of 30?
I think you can, Nagy. I think once you, as long as you're 6 months, 30 and 6 months, I think then you get the freedom to say the other side of 30, But this signing came out of nowhere. There were no whispers. There was no press ideas. There was nothing was entertained about who was going to fill Brailey's spot. It was just assumed to be Watson. And then bam, Mr. McCulloch.
What age do you stop saying your age and a half? Do you think that's an appropriate thing? Because, I remember when I was like 10, I'd be like, I'm 10 and a half. But then that sort of just whittled away.
That's a very good question.
Like I said,
I've never even thought about that.
I'm going to use it from now on. Someone goes, how old are you? I'm 30 and a half.
30 and a half.
Yeah.
I like it, yes.
It's a little bit off track.
Similar situation with the cutoff. Like, where do you finish your mid-20? Your early, your mid, and your late, say, decade. So
yes.
You think you've got 30 to 35, that's your early... No, 30 to 32 and a half, there's your early 30s.
Yeah.
32 and a half to 37 and a half,
mid.
There's your mid. Mm-hmm. And then 37 and a half to 40, there's your late 30s. So we did a bit of maths on that one, actually, and that was the conclusion I came to. But
6 to 7's a big jump.
Do we know how old McCulloch is?
I believe he's 30. He's and a half.
Much
as well.
like ourselves.
Yes, yeah. He's it was a surprise. I didn't see this coming. There was no word of it on the street. I suppose there was no pub chat because all pubs are shut. Mm-hmm. But it's definitely a welcome. We were down a hooker. Now we've got much more in that supporting role. The emphasis was left on 2 players, really, that with Jayden Brailey being injured, and that's Connor Watson and another young fellow whose name is...
Chris Randall.
Yes,
junior. I think he's on a train and trial contract at the moment.
So, it seems like with our forward pack, to really get them moving, get the big boys going forwards, you need someone in that hooker role. And I think with 260 games experience, at the very least, some people are saying, is this a good signing? It's a mid-season signing, and it seems to work out... good for both parties, both Brisbane and Newcastle. So, look, it's going to be interesting to see how he fits in. I think he's definitely a good lad. He's clean track record, which is hard to say with a career in Brisbane.
Exactly, yeah. You know what those Brisbane folks get up to up there that gets covered up by their Courier Mail. But yeah, I think he's going to be a good signing. He'll shore up the middle, give good service. I think he's a bit of a kicking game about him. His running game's not quite so well developed as far as I know, but it'll be interesting to see how he goes, really, and I think he'll be good for Brailey's development. I mean, you got to remember this Mr. McCulloch played Origin last year.
2018,
sorry, and then Ben Hunt was last year. So you've got a player who has recently played Origin. So, the boy's got to be good at something.
It's got the calibre.
The calibre.
The calibre.
Yes, that's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
Calibre.
And so it's. I think it's good. We're not going to have to put so much emphasis on Connor. I don't know how they're going to work it. There might be the famous Nathan Brown hooker interchange that he did with Michael Ennis and Dean Young, if you remember that one.
I do. And I think that'll be a similar situation. You'll get McCulloch on, then Connor Watson can come on as the 14 that he seems to be, that he's one of the best at. So, I think I'll be interested to see how the interplay between McCulloch and the other one.
Yes.
Connor Watson.
Yes,
how they interplay and, what happens there. It's going to be very exciting to see, Nagy. Very exciting to see. Now, the next piece of news, this will excite you, Nagy, as a gentleman who lives on the Central Coast,
yes,
is that the first 9, I believe, Knights home games, or the first 9 rounds of the season, rather, the Knights will be calling Central Coast Stadium their home. Now, Nagy, do you have any experience with Central Coast Stadium?
Yeah, look, it's probably not a utilised facility. It's the grass is really well kept.
Fantastic.
Rarely trodden on. I know there was a concert there. I think late last year. Who's the guy that sings? Lionel Richie concert. Yeah, all night long.
Right.
So that's I didn't go, but I could hear it from where I was living at the time. But it doesn't seem to play much football there. It seems to be an empty stadium, sometimes a bit of soccer, but they're not very good at that, the Central Coast either. So it's good that it's going to get some use. However, as much as I'm excited, I thought, they're going to be playing, it's going to be great, but at the same time, none of us can go.
Absolutely. But keeping in mind, as we did discuss after Mr. Lazenby's question last week, that there is a fourth wall there that you can sit and watch the footy. You'll need binoculars. And again, as we suggested, scaffolding, you can do whatever you'd like there. But I think, it's good to have the team semi-local. I think
it's
good.
better than Sydney. I think I think we can all...
everything in the world's better than Sydney.
Yeah.
My memory from Central Coast Stadium is barely a memory. It barely survives in my head because I was playing, I believe, under 15s New South Wales country against Sydney, and a man about thrice my size hit me in the head very hard.
Sure.
So I remember how soft the grass was because I fell pretty quickly and landed on it. But that's about the only memory of that game.
It might be one of your few memories that you have left.
Yeah, one of my very few footballing memories, at least anyway.
There's an exciting... there's been talks for several months, but famous Welsh international Tyson Frizzell seems to be making his way to the shores of Newcastle. I don't know if he's coming by boat, but he can because it's a coastal town.
And going from Illawarra to Newcastle, that's 2 big coal ports. So, you can get in and out of there fairly easily. There's systems in place, a system set up. What I think, though, is that from what I was reading today, the Andrew McCulloch signing means that Frizzell won't be coming this year because he ties up the salary cap payment that would have gone... McCulloch tied up the salary cap payment that would have gone to Frizzell were he granted an early release from St George.
If he was going to be granted, I can't see St George letting them go. I think Newcastle's very good at letting players go. As soon as they signed another contract, they said just go. 2015, I think we lost half a squad. We just said if you don't want to play here, you don't have to, and then half the team left.
Yeah, and it wasn't a threat. It wasn't like if you don't want to play, get out. It was like, well, if you don't want to, you can go, I suppose.
Oh yeah, if you'd like to. The door.
If that's your want.
And so for it became it's an exciting signature. I don't think we've possibly not signed anyone of that sort of ferocity and caliber again. We could use that word since Bo Scott and probably before then. I don't know, Ben Kennedy.
Yes, a noted hard man on the edge, which Frizzell clearly is. He's a great signing, but like you said, we haven't had the great back rowers in the last few years that we had earlier on in the club's career. Your Steve Simpson, the successful years.
Yes.
Your Steve Simpsons, your Ben Kennedys, like you said.
Yeah.
Adam Muir's going back a bit earlier, but he's...
We're blessed, Liam.
We
blessed.
were. And, he's that second row. To me, he's the final piece in the puzzle that is the Newcastle Knights forward pack. He completes it. He rounds it out. And, fantastic signing. Fantastic.
It's going to be it's a very exciting time to be looking forward to next year, even though we're really still the beginning of the season, despite it being late May and a half. We can just put him to bed as far as coming this year. Hopefully, it's going to be. It's always when you sign the players and then you see them play against the team, and it's sort of like, should we want them to do well? Because you want them to be in good form,
especially when they play against your team. So when Tyson, famous Welsh international Tyson, plays against the Knights, if he tears strips off us, do we welcome him into town next year? If say the Knights are in that log jam between 6th and 12th. and Tyson Frizzell leads the Dragons to a victory over the Knights, knocking the Knights out of the 8 and propelling the Dragons into the 8. How will he be received in the city when he arrives next year?
We've got short memories, so they'll be fine. I think everyone is welcome in. We did do this with Trent Hodkinson, though. We broke his wrist.
It was Corbin Sims. I remember was it the second last game of the year? Corbin Sims went out and decided he would try his very best to kill Trent Hodkinson, despite the fact that Trent was obviously going to be his colleague, co-worker, teammate, maybe social friends. They might go out on the weekend, who knows? But Mr. Sims took it upon himself to try and destroy Trent Hodkinson completely and utterly.
Yes.
Did a pretty good job on it, too.
Did a pretty good job.
Now, speaking of complete and utter destruction, we witnessed another unsavoury off-field incident that's just come to light, featuring South Star Cody Walker.
Now, we got a call from the integrity unit, Jonathan Farnham and Richard Martin, they're good friends of ours. They let us know. They said, look, there's a video circulating around. I think you guys should be all over it. But
no, Nagy, that is the problem. The integrity unit were not informed.
Yeah. Well, they're a bit late.
They were a bit late. So I believe we've got the video right up on here now, so you can see Mr. Walker not in frame currently. A lot of shirts off.
Yeah.
And then he comes in with a textbook front kick. Nagy, you watch more UFC than I do.
Yeah.
What would that be called in UFC? A front kick?
The technical term, I think, would be a front kick.
A front kick. Yeah. It was pretty powerful too. Knocked the guy off his feet. And, of course, this in Mr. Walker's hometown of Casino, which, growing up on the mid-north coast, is a rough town at its very best day, but on the worst days in Casino, oof.
Do people go there thinking there is a casino there?
Well, there's not much else to draw people there, so I would imagine that's the case.
What else could you name a town with if it doesn't actually have it there?
Pub.
A pub. Just call it pub.
Where do you live?
Pub.
Yeah. But there's some intrigue around this video, Nagy. Some intrigue. Now, the gentleman who took the video seems to have tried to blackmail Cody Walker for $20,000 to not release the video. But obviously he hasn't paid the $20,000 to the blackmailer. The video was released, and now he's facing a $15,000 suspended fine from the NRL.
Ooh.
Now that's smart business from Cody.
Yeah.
He's saved himself $5,000.
Yeah.
So, you could say he was foolish for, getting in the fracas in the beginning. But when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, he's made a pretty wise fiscal decision. 15 grand instead of 20 grand. That's... What would you say? A couple of weeks of food for a NRL player, like a big appetite.
Yeah, well, a couple of trips to KFC. One thing that he made a poor decision, not only by kicking the bloke, but also the choice of clothing that he was wearing.
He should have been wearing shorts.
Should have been wearing, because they're good for kicking.
Oh, they're very, very good for kicking.
You can get it much higher. Yeah. So kicking with jeans on, not recommended. It's hopefully we don't see too much more of this sorts of thing. From the boys. Or however, as far as fights go and things like that, I think that was probably on the lesser side of it.
The club has been fined $20,000 as well for not reporting to Richard and Jonathan.
Do we know who was the blackmailer? Has that come out yet?
I don't believe it has. I don't believe it was a casino local.
Right.
So, casinos and blackmail, they kind of go hand in hand with all the underhanded dealings that happen at casinos.
At casinos.
Not the town.
No.
But, the facility. The casino facilities. There's a lot of blackmailing and blackjack, similar to blackmail. So, there's a couple of connections there.
It was certainly something that probably the NRL didn't need coming back, but at the same time, it's a very violent game and a bit of a kick to the stomach.
A lot of testosterone. Well, that's it. He left a footprint on a bloke's stomach.
Yeah.
I don't think that's anything too bad.
Yeah. Adam McDougall left a footprint on Jeff Tuvey's face.
And he was lauded for it. We loved him for it. Oh, now this one. Now, that was a showdown, right? That was a good showdown between a couple of boys getting down, getting rough. This next showdown, Nagy, is getting a bit more personal. Now, John Bateman has been reported by James Hooper to have sought release from the Canberra Raiders 4 times. But Bateman's hit back with a classic roast tweet. Now, you'll see it up on your screen there, guys. And I'm going to read this verbatim from John Bateman. You better stick to polishing that bald head, big fella, because your poop emoji at being a journo never once have asked for release. Bullshit story, #fake news. I think that's very good of Bateman to come out and set the record straight and also to insult James Hooper, who I wouldn't say is a particularly good rugby league journalist.
We're not fans of him.
Not fans of him. No.
It comes from that, for some reason, at some point, of NRL journalists just seem to like shift to being sort of
guesses.
Well, they are, but at the same time, the culture that I don't like is the one of the boys, sort of really macho.
Which Hooper's one of the worst at, with his bald head and his boys.
Yeah, it just seems like I don't know.
It's
and
forced.
So he's come out and said that that he's asked for a release, and John Bateman has said, "Oh, I haven't." But since then, they've mentioned that he's talking to other clubs.
He's being shopped around, said Don Ferner, of the boss of the Canberra Raiders. He's being shopped around, but how that plays into this particular tweet,
sure,
I don't know.
So if
he's shopping around, is it the same as seeking a release? I don't know.
If you've got a contract. I'm not a contract lawyer, Liam. I'm just
nor am I. And we again cannot stress that strongly enough. We are not contract lawyers, not licensed.
Not
anyway.
licensed. Yeah. But if you got a contract to play for a certain team, and then you are talking about maybe playing for another team, which would involve a new contract, you'd have to break the first one. Now, to do that, I think you would have to ask for a release. So him coming out and saying that he's not asked for a release, but also talking to other clubs, which would involve him being maybe he's going to play for two clubs. I don't know.
For two clubs, I wouldn't rule it out. It's happened before.
Could you
Actually, it's never happened before.
It's never happened before. Could you do it? Could you play for two clubs? Why hasn't it been thought?
Well, as long as the draw's all right, and you kind of your two teams aren't playing on the same day, or God forbid playing against each other in the same game. But I did get asked once to play against my own team. It was at a school game, and the other side turned up with about 5 blokes.
Yeah,
and so there was 4 or 5. Obviously, went over and said, "We'll give you a hand," and it was very strange. There was a torn loyalty there, and. I think a couple of my schoolmates wanted to impress that upon me and tried tackling me as hard as they possibly could.
As they would, yeah.
They would.
Yeah.
But I got the better of them.
That's good.
Obviously, which is quite good. But again, torn loyalties. It was very strange experience.
The end game for this is either going to be Bateman playing unhappily at the Canberra Raiders. And can we just get down to brass tacks? It's about money.
It's about money. I believe he's on $580,000 a year. With an upgrade, I think, in his contract to $600,000 a year for next year. And then...
But he wants more.
But he wants more money. I think he's looking for $800,000 from the Bulldogs.
That's a lot of money.
Who seem to only sign back rowers these days.
Yeah.
Which is strange. Joe Stimson, Corey Harawira-Naera, now John Bateman. How many more back rowers can a club have?
That's a lot of money. A lot of money for one player.
It's called the second row. First, second, 2 blokes. That's all you need. That's your second row there. And it's right there in the name. So, it boggles my mind how many back rowers Canterbury are signing. But, anything else for the news now?
If the game rubs out the scrum, there's always talks of what's the point of the scrum. It's just basically a set play option, but the scrum doesn't actually, you don't do anything.
You have a hit up.
You have a huddle, you have a cuddle, and that's it. So there's always this talk, so should we rub the scrum out of the game? But that's also what the names are based on. Front row, second row. Look at that. So much of the names are based around the scrum. So if you took the scrum out, you could rename them whatever you like.
So how do you go about renaming those positions? I suppose you'd say...
Props would probably be the big boys.
Props would be the big fellas.
Yep.
I know in rugby union they call the second rowers the tall timbers.
The tall timbers,
you're generally tall men, so you call them the timbers.
Yeah.
But then lock... You know what? They call it in England, they call it a loose forward.
Loose forward?
A loose forward. I know, because I was reading about Mal Reilly the other day. And, in England they call him a loose forward. They call 5'8" the standoff. Standoff, yeah.
Yeah, right.
So I quite like it. I don't know why, but I quite like it. Clearly, but again, scrum-based. Yeah. They stand off the scrum.
Yeah.
So then you've got that old chestnut, you've got to rename that. And then all the backs are named as to their relation to the scrum. You've got your halfback, he's halfway back.
Yeah.
5'8", he's 5/8 of the way back. Centre 3/4 of the way back.
Yeah.
Then you full back. So then you've got to look at renaming all those positions as well. But look, I think that's a matter for another time.
Absolutely.
It's a matter for one of the one of the various committees we brought up last week. We'll get them onto that very quickly.
Now, Liam, there was talks with the referees. The referees were going to call it a strike. They were saying we're not going to come out and officiate the games. Volandis had to do some underhanding dealing, maybe some blackmail involved with there as well, maybe some blackjack. they've come to an agreement. But we did see some ex-referees, Hollywood Harrigan, coming out saying that he'll do it despite being about 60 years of age.
I think he'd still be a goer.
17 years out of the game, and he was willing to put his hand up. He said, "I'll come back. I'll do it." Stephen Clark, I believe, also threw his hat into the ring.
I really hope this causes a resurgence of Adam Pershaklasa Gajewski.
Yeah,
was a referee.
of course. Yeah.
Yes, we all remember. He was Vossi's favourite, Andrew Voss's favourite. Even he could come back. I've got his name completely wrong. Please don't Google that, because that's not his name at all.
I was hoping that maybe we'll get Tim Mander back.
Oh, Tim Mander. Now, he was the one who would woo upon kickoff. He was so excited.
Sometimes you'd say yippee.
Yeah, he'd blow the whistle and woo.
That's really what you wanted the sportsman's ears.
That's
you wanted
what
to hear the
match officials need. They need to be excited. The players are excited. They run out. They're feeling the atmosphere, getting excited. The referees need to be similarly empowered to have a good time. Too often we rely on them to, be the arbiters of the game, which, albeit that's their job, but God, let them have some fun while they're out there.
Let the boys play and let the referees
let the
play.
boys referee.
Yeah. It's certainly an interesting thing, because the referee said, no, we're not going to. We're going to take. What do they call it? Action in
civil
industrial action.
Industrial again, not contract lawyers.
Not contract lawyers. They said, we're not going to do it. We want 2 referees out there, and Peter Volandis met with them and said, no, we're going to go with 1 on a trial basis. To be reviewed, I guess, is what you could say.
We very clearly, we reviewed it last week.
Yeah.
So why the NRL needs to review it again when we've clearly done their diligence? We've done their due diligence.
Absolutely, yeah.
All they need to do now is watch last week's episode.
Job done.
The job is done for them.
It's so it's interesting that the referees walked away with the offer that they originally they didn't want, and then nothing changed, and then they're going to continue on with it. Obviously, we need the referees, important part of the game. They're much maligned.
Much maligned.
Yeah.
But when you look at it, the bedrock of the game.
Yeah, well,
good refereeing is what the game's built on. We all remember No, wait, I'd argue that bad refereeing is what the game's built on.
Yeah.
As we well remember the grasshopper, Barry Gummesall.
Yes.
In his infamous Origin matches. He's about the only other infamous referee I can think of.
Interesting looking fellow.
He was, wasn't he?
Have we got a photo of him? It was, what was his name? So the grasshopper referee.
Barry Gummesall.
Yeah. It's if it's the one I'm thinking of.
He had a funny little mustache and hated New South Wales.
It's I believe that's called
Gummesall.
Barry Gumtree. That was actually
Barry Gumtree with his cousin.
He released some country albums. It's
GOM.
We'll find it.
We'll find it.
So it was a lot's happened. A lot's been going on. Yes, it's strange.
There we go. We've got Mr. Gummesall on the screen there, as you can see, in his Queens. I loved when the referees had those TNT jerseys. They were just a solid colour.
Yeah.
And then you get your TNT logo on the front. It's nice and simple.
What is TNT?
TNT is a national logistics company.
Yeah.
Whose name I don't know what the initials stand for. I've never worked with the company. I've never been employed by the company.
Not to be confused with the explosives TNT.
No. God, no. And that it'd be very strange to see the referees be sponsored by an explosive
company. We're always looking for more sponsors.
Well, I always remember that Singleton Rugby was always sponsored by Orica Explosives.
Yeah.
So, I imagine they're getting a little bit of explosives on the side in brown paper bags under the desk.
Yeah. Maybe that's Volandis' way of negotiating. He
Yes.
says, gentlemen, I have several explosives under the table. Please sign here.
Yeah. Well, they tried that on Hitler, and how well did that work out?
Yeah, no,
Didn't work out at all.
Didn't work out.
No, sir. But yes.
Say what you will about Hitler.
I think he was a real jerk.
He was a real jerk.
Real jerk. So yes, now the Panthers game. We've covered that pretty well last week, so not much has changed since then, besides the obvious. Your number 9 signings. I imagine what we'll see there is that Chris Randall will drop out of the squad. Maybe Connor Watson, like we discussed, 14.
Yeah.
And then I think we came up with a side last week, and I think it was a pretty good side. And I've forgotten who was in it.
I think it's going to be pretty close to what the round 2 side, which was, feels like several years ago now. Who do you think's going to come out and shine for Islam? Who do you think maybe might be a bit slow to start? Might be taking a little bit to get the wheels moving again?
That's a very good question, Nagy. A very good question indeed.
I'm gonna go out there and say that I'm expecting big things from Lachlan Fitzgibbon. I liked what he did in the first 2 games,
Yes.
and I think hopefully he can continue that form. And also, I think big things from Bradman Best.
I was about to mention our powerful thumb.
Yeah.
Powerful thumb. I think he's in for a big season this year.
Yeah.
But yeah, expecting Lachlan Fitz to really roll into the year. And I think another year to him will be fantastic. He's just going to grow and learn, and he's finally got a few experienced forwards around him, and having an experienced hooker there is going to be great.
Yes.
And then obviously you've got the Ponga Fitzgibbon combination on the left that we know and love. That last year probably didn't play out as much as we'd hoped it would, but I think Lockie fits in for a big year this year.
It's going to be it's just going to be great to see them back on the park.
It's going to be great.
Running out there, empty stadium, but sometimes we get that anyway.
But
when people are allowed in the stadium, sometimes people don't rock up to the games.
Turn up. Brookvale especially, noted for its low attendances. But as we saw in the first 2 rounds, football without the crowd noise, fine.
Yeah.
It's enjoyable.
You can hear
it's
the
great.
hits.
You can hear the hits.
You can hear the swearing.
You can hear the swearing.
You can hear the arguments. It's
you can hear occasionally when the players go, "Oh, good stuff, mate. I love you."
You're
doing really well. Good stuff.
That's what we should be hearing.
Maybe
a bit more encouragement. Maybe just a bit more. Yeah, the I love yous.
Yeah.
When's a better time to tell a mate that you love him?
Because you see the bum pats. So you see that on the camera. You see the bum pats. But what you don't see is the players just expressing their their love for their teammates.
Yeah.
As mates, as co-workers, as colleagues. Again, as I was saying before. It's always good to tell your mates you love them.
Yeah.
Everyone should do that. 3-4 times a week, I'd say.
Yeah, maybe separate from the bum tap. Maybe it's bum taps and then separately I love yous.
Well, it depends how bad of a place your mate's in at the time.
Yes.
Some situations will require both. Some
Yep.
situations one or the other. And then sometimes, you're just pissed off at someone and they don't deserve even a skerrick of your time. Not a skerrick.
We've got some questions through. We better open up your sack, Liam.
Well, let's open the sack. Now, we begin the sack with one of Carlo's questions from last week, actually.
Hey.
As he had so many, we didn't get to all of them. Sorry, Carlo. Now, in the spirit of his colleague and great friend, Joe Frost, also a great friend of the show,
Oh, yes.
whose dumping from our club was the least ceremonious? Now, he suggests Aku Uwate or Denny Badiris, the first departure. But I'd also like to throw in the ring there Matthew Johns.
Yeah.
Very contentious departure. So I'd say out of those 3, Nagy, who do you feel hit the hardest?
Look, I think we forget a lot about Aku and how good he was. He was recently he had so many top 5 lists, top 10 lists, top lists of favourite lists. They had everything was ranked, and there was one for wingers. I think it was Fox Sports, and they didn't include Akuliwate in the last 20 years, and they were including players like Wendell Saylor and Lottie Dakiri. These gentlemen were in the game for moments, and then they went off and played a different sport. But Aku, 3 years in a row, Dally M winger of
How many
winger of the
Origins did he play? He played a couple, didn't
I'm
he?
going to say he played 5.
5.
Yeah.
I like that number, yeah.
I think he
It's a
played
good number.
5 Origins and 5 matches for Australia.
And well deserved.
Yeah.
He at his prime, he was unstoppable. He was fantastic.
Yes.
But just another one in that great long line of Fijian wingers, which all started, I believe, with Noah Nandruku.
Yeah.
Was it, I think? And just this almost production line of Fijian wingers that have come through the NRL since Nandruku. I remember Marcus Bai, also one of the early Fijian innovators.
Yeah.
And then I was going to say Olsen Filipana, but he was played in the halves. But yeah, there's been so many great Fijian wingers, and to have one at the Knights.
Strong gentlemen.
Strong
aren't they?
gentlemen.
Yeah.
Huge ass too.
There's better for the bum taps.
Better for the bum taps. Yeah.
And it was sad seeing Danny go. I remember when at the time I felt like it was the end of his career. Like I thought he might have gone over Super League for a year or two as a bit more of a I'm wrapping things up. But it was around that Brian Smith sort of era where we did a big clean out of the players of the club, and it was a strange time. He sort of just unceremoniously left. Then he came back and he was playing good football over there for the Leeds Rhinos, and you think we could have kept him. We could have kept. Maybe that was the start of the curse.
It could have been the start of the number 9 curse, which of course ended when he was taken off injured in the preliminary final.
In
Mere moments into the game, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was
Jared Warrior-Hargraves.
Yes.
What did he do?
Elbowed him in the head.
Should be illegal.
Yeah, it was.
Actually, I'm fairly certain it is illegal. You'd be done for common assault if you did that on the street.
Yeah. It's if you to kick a gentleman in the street, that's also illegal as well. But it's
Apparently not very illegal.
he
though.
had the ball. He was trying to tackle it. He had the ball in his hand, so I think we can probably give Jared a pass there. He's a physical game after all.
He is, yes, as we well know, and he's one of the most physical about. So, but yes, I would also throw Matt Johns in the ring there when he was released in 2000 by Warren Ryan.
Yes.
So yes, I think
was that a salary cap thing with Matthew Johns?
wasn't it?
Yeah, I think we couldn't afford to keep everyone.
I just thought it was Warren Ryan being
Both of them.
I just thought it was Warren Ryan being an asshole.
Well,
I have heard that a lot.
I've heard that a lot as well.
Super coach, not a super person.
Not a super bloke.
I was really hoping to come up with something more stinging there, but I didn't. Now, next question from Liam Jones. Liam asks, he went to bed at 5:30 a.m. this morning. How would you suggest he navigates the rest of this day? Now,
very
carefully. I would tread lightly around the house. I'd go a nap, but I wouldn't go too hard because obviously then you're not going to sleep throughout the night.
Yeah, you don't be groggy.
You don't want to be groggy.
No.
So an hour, set aside 1 hour for a nap.
Yep.
And that'd probably be all you'd want. And then being a Sunday, maybe get to church in the morning, obviously.
Sure.
Go home, big brekkie, have a nap. And then you'd be right as rain. And then that should keep you going through till I'd say a more reasonable bedtime of 10:30, maybe
10:30.
11.
Look, that seems to be the grown up time to go to bed is about 10.
About 10.
It seems to be the way to do it. A lot of scheduled programming on television around 10 o'clock, it sort of tapers off. People stop watching, but I've been enjoying going to bed earlier as I get older. The subtle joys of thinking at 8:30 I'm going to pop off the bed, which was the exact opposite when I was younger. I just wanted to continue to stay up.
See, I'm still more of a night owl. I'm getting better though. I'm getting back to a more reasonable, but I was always a night owl.
Yeah.
So yes, Liam, we've got a few suggestions and probably don't take our advice.
No.
As we don't deal well in our everyday lives, let alone when we've been up till 5:30 a.m.
That's correct.
Now, a good one from Josh Spiegelman.
Yes.
The Hebrew Hammer, the original fourth jouster. Now, top 3 fixtures on the new draw you're looking forward to the most. Now, I've isolated 3 games, and now I'd love to hear your thoughts on these. First one will be Knights v Canberra, round 5. I think that'll be the earliest proper litmus test as to how the Knights are looking, obviously facing up against last year's grand finalists, albeit perhaps without 3 of their starring forwards because of their anti-vaccination stance.
Oh, really?
So this will be an interesting game to see if they've got a full-strength side or not. But I think that'll be the first litmus test for the Knights, see how they go against Canberra. Next, I've got the Knights v Manly, round 8, just because everyone loves a game against Manly. It's it's a rivalry that's more of a recent one. It's only been kind of since the mid-90s through till the early 2000s, but it's still fresh in the memory, the famous Knights Manly game. So that's one I'm particularly looking forward to. And then, you gotta look forward to playing the Premiers, the Roosters, round 18. Pardon me. Round 18, we've got the Roosters at home on the Central Coast, I believe, or hopefully by then it'll be back to Marathon. So I think that's going to be a really, really big one. And we saw what the Knights did to the Roosters at home last year.
Yes.
And, playing the former Premiers, the previous Premiers, I hope that will bring out the best in the side. So we'll see how that goes. But for me, they're the more important 3. Do you have any on your mind, Nag?
Oh, look, I think I've almost forgotten what football is like. I've forgotten, who's playing for which team. Where's John Bateman playing? I don't know. And so I'm just excited to see just 2 teams playing each other. We are coming off 2 wins. It's nice that we kept those points. So undefeated, #undefeated 2020, and then so I'd like to continue that going. But I just want to see some good football.
That's it. 2 teams playing against each other
Basically.
on a rectangle field of 100 metres by about 40 wide.
Is it 40 wide?
There you go. That's all we need.
It's much wider than that. 60?
60. There you go. So almost a square. You're looking... It's an
Squarish.
oblong. It's an oblong.
Yeah.
Now, Billy Bennett, fellow Group 2 alumni, actually, Billy, very famous for the Woolgoolga Seahorses.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, he was a seahorse growing up. Now, Billy Bennett asks, where will Freddie slide our boy Texas Hoy into the New South Wales side?
I like the enthusiasm from who wrote in?
Billy Bennett.
Billy, thank you, Billy, for your question. Look, I'm excited for Tex. I have a little concern that he's going to come and actually play quite well, and then we won't have a place for him in the team, and then another team will sign him. Much like
That is a worry.
Much like what happened with the young fella that went to the Bulldogs,
Jack Cogger.
Nick Meaney.
Oh, and Nick Meaney.
Nick Meaney,
Yes.
yeah. Nick Meaney, it was, you're
Jack
playing-
Cogger we don't miss as much.
No, not as much. Sorry, Jack. Good friend of the show.
Oh, different.
It's-
As his dad, Trevor Cogger, West legend, also
Really?
a friend of the show. Yeah,
Yeah.
Western Magpies legend.
So I was upset to see Meaney go. So I sort of want Tex to do well, but at the same time, I'm like, I wish he could do well, but also not leave
Yes.
the club. So, but I think he's got a good opportunity. This is Tex Hoy playing fullback for us this
Yep.
in the place of Ponga. So. Look, it'd be good to see him play well. I'm not sure about New South Wales. I think they might be putting the cart before the horse.
I disagree, Nagy. We've seen what Freddie likes to do with his selections and how he likes to run through the selections process. And I'm tipping Tex Hoy second row.
That's a bold move.
It's a bold move.
Audacious.
And it's audacious, and that's what was said about Freddie in the last 2 years of his Origin tenure. It's always been said that he's a bold and audacious coach.
Yeah.
He takes chances, on players in positions that they may not be well known for. And I reckon. Look at this. That's a wide running second rowers line. That is. You slot him in at left hand second row for New South Wales. We win the series 3-0. I guarantee. Look at that through the middle there. Holds up the ball for the winger. He scores in the corner. So, he can muck around in the middle of the park there and have a good kicking second rower. It's rare these days to see a good kicking second rower.
Yeah, well, hopefully the Bulldogs don't nab him for their team full of second rowers.
Yeah, nor the Rabbitohs for their team full of kickers.
The game is getting it seems that like a second rower. Do you remember back in the day? Cast your mind back when the wingers were the small guys and the props were the big guys, and the backs usually were the more versatile speedsters.
More handsome fellas.
Yeah, and then you had the rough and tumble forwards who were the bigger gentlemen. Now, there's still some big men in the game. Jason Tamalolo is the size of a house.
He is.
And,
He's as broad as he is tall.
yeah, he's like a block, like a chair.
Like our dear friend Brandon Clough. Built
Brandon
like
Clough,
a chair.
built like a chair. It's, but now it just seems to be everyone's about the same size.
Yeah.
Wingers are huge.
It's a game full of athletes now, whereas previous it was a game full of footy players.
Men,
Now
yeah.
it's a game full of athletes. So everyone, like you said, everyone's the same shape, same size. You can chop and change however you'd please.
Everyone's about 97 kilo.
But Felipe Mateo played 5'8", and he was 110 kilo.
Yeah.
Tony Williams played on the wing, similar height and weight. It's bizarre who plays what position anywhere. Anyone can play anywhere. That's why the NRL is so exciting. Anyone can play anywhere. Now, next question, Alex Williams, are you excited for the signing of McCulloch? What do you think he'll bring to the side? I think he will bring, like we discussed earlier, a sense of surety in the middle.
Yep.
It'll tie up the middle. I think we can get some good service out of him because we've got the forward pack now that we can start to build up a role. So as long as he's getting good quick service out of dummy half,
Yep.
maybe the odd little kick here and there.
Have we thought about maybe going for, hooker's a very specialised position because you're always going to be a dummy half. But have we thought about just anyone going to dummy half?
Everyone.
Just anyone, whoever's closest.
Well, we remember, as we discussed in that 97 preliminary final, Knights North Sydney,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
started with Matthew Johns at hooker. Then after 20 minutes, he went back into the halves, and that's what they did.
Yeah.
Just whoever was closest to the play the ball would receive the ball and pass. It was brilliant. It worked fantastically. Won the game.
It's more fluid.
It's
really.
much more fluid, which is what everyone's talking about. They want in the game. They want fluidity. They don't want any stodginess. They want fluidity and flow. They always talk about the flow of the game. Imagine the flow of the game if you had 13 hookers.
Oh.
That'd be brilliant. That'd be fantastic. So yes, Alex, very excited and love what we think should happen with Andrew McCulloch. Chelsea Johns, Newcastle's sweetheart.
Just alumni.
Just alumni. Look at that gorgeous smile. Thank you, Chelsea. I believe that was directed at the two of us. Thank you very much, Chelsea. Hugely appreciated. And lastly, from Mr. Lazenby, realistically, was the comp stopping a blessing in disguise for us?
Oh. Interesting question.
It is.
Now,
I would say no, it wasn't, because you win 2 games, then you're looking at 3. Then you win 3 games, you're looking at 4. But you win 2, and
Lot of pressure.
then you sit back on your heels and do nothing for a couple of months. It'd be harder to build up a roll. So I don't think the enforced break, is the best thing that could have happened for the Knights.
Yes.
We had those 2 games, started to build the roll, and then all of a sudden, bam, the roll is reined in.
It does bring me on to a point about Mr. Volandis, our fearless leader. It did come out and say, after doing all this, getting the game back on track and seemed to have timed it really well. But what he has also said, that the NRL shouldn't have shut down at all.
He has said that. I was very confused about it.
Yeah, interesting position to take, considering that it's obviously a decision that was taken completely out of the hands of him. It wasn't, and also everything shut down. It was quite a.
It wasn't just rugby league.
It wasn't just rugby league. Is he aware that there's other things that have been shut down?
I believe the Serbian national football competition was one of the last upstanding.
Yeah.
Because I believe Red Star Belgrade played one of the last professional sporting games before everything shut down.
Yeah.
Now,
should we go on the way of the Serbs and just said no, we're going to play?
I think
on.
we should have.
Yeah.
I think we should have. Red Star Belgrade, very well known sporting side.
Yeah.
Very well known. So. That's an interesting conundrum.
I just feel like he came out and said these things at a time where he could have just said nothing, and everyone would have gone, "You've done a great job, Peter." But
he's not a man to say nothing, though.
That's true.
He's
full of words.
Lots of them, and often mispronounced.
Yes.
Now, part 2 of the question from Lazenby. In the time the comp has stopped, players have been able to recover, i.e. Sione, Mitch Barnett, Bradman Best, and we're also able to land the signature of McCulloch, and I've cut the rest of that question off, so it comes across as a statement.
Yes.
But let's make something of it.
I feel I get the vibe from the question.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's there's a lot of positive come out of it, and I think injuries to Mitch Barnett, he'll be back soon, Bradman Best, and things like that. So the boys had some time to heal, although we haven't seen Mitch Barnett coming back just yet.
I think he's mid-season.
Yeah, that was a nasty sort of injury.
But mid which season?
No,
mid-original season or mid-COVID season? Who knows?
Yeah.
It could be back tomorrow. Could be back next year. We don't know.
There was, it's given Kieran Foran an opportunity to injure himself again.
Yes, done his hammy at first session back in training, I believe.
Yeah, after saying he's feeling the best he's ever done. And it took him more.
Well, to be fair, he's never been a healthy body. So the best he's ever felt is not quite where the best an NRL player should feel.
He's been breaking down for a while,
and
it seems like he's towards the end of his tether. But good luck to him.
Yes, absolutely. We wish him nothing but the best.
So there's been some interesting movements as far as players. Injuries coming back and things like that. So we might have benefited from some of it, but I don't think we'll get a huge kick, a huge boost necessarily. We don't really have any key injuries at the moment. Touch.
No, that's yes. No, that's milk crates.
That's pulp.
Paper made of wood.
Pulp.
There you go.
It's the same. It's a
same thing.
Derivative. It's. Have we got any more questions for you, Sack?
That's all for the Sack. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for attending our little Sack session. It's wonderful to hear from you all, and we hope we've provided some modicum of decent answers.
Done none of those things.
No, we haven't.
It's going to be a very exciting game coming to you live. Do you remember when the Sunday game used to be delayed?
Yes.
What a planet.
And the Friday night game. Remember, it was delayed because of Burke's backyard. Another thing was a delay. They used to show a shortened 1 hour version of the game after Burke's backyard on Friday night.
Channel 9 also held out to still showing the delayed game well into the age where everyone had a smartphone on them and could just check the score. And I'll tell you what, a game's not that interesting. And also just like a game's not that interesting when you know the result.
Yeah, well, I remember in the old days, you'd be driving home on a Sunday and you'd hear the news come over the car radio and Dad was, turn it down, shut it down.
Yeah.
Don't want to hear the result. Don't tell me anything. I don't want to know.
It was,
and it was such a strange time for rugby league.
I was at a pub in Newcastle, not the Commonwealth Hotel. I would choose to go to the Commonwealth if it was now. This was a different pub, and we were watching the Sunday game, and it was Dane Gagai's brother was at the pub.
Jacob Gagai.
And he at halftime got up and they were playing Manly, and so he got up and he was like, oh, well, hopefully, I think it was 10-all or something, so hopefully the boys can come home with the win. And then someone just shouted out, they've already lost. And they had, and that annoyed a lot of people.
So it would have.
And it's because people were like, oh, you've just ruined the game for us. But it's like, is it his fault to just say that the game was already finished at this point?
Just to point out the obvious.
He was pointing out the obvious. Jacob was saying, I hope that we can get this done, but the matter was already over.
Man, he was just stating a fact.
He was.
But doing nothing but stating a fact.
He was asked to leave that venue. And which is it was a crazy time that delayed.
That's
game.
an assault on free speech.
Yeah. They
It's in the Constitution.
Channel 9, home of rugby league, for
Yeah.
a while there, they only were showing one live game.
I think it's in the Constitution just before Marbo.
Yeah.
I believe you get your free speech, then the gist.
It's all in there.
It's all in there.
Yeah,
Marbo, it's,
It's all it's
all in there.
but we're not, none of us are lawyers, so we
No,
don't-
again,
especially
cannot
contract
stress
lawyers.
strongly enough.
It's so Liam, thank you for joining me for another week of Jazz. We will be coming to you next week and reviewing the first game back. Hopefully, everything goes well. No one gets sick. There's no more shutdowns or COVID related things. Hopefully, we can move forward and stop talking about this damn virus. But it's going to be exciting. If you like us, please like us on Facebook. You can see us on YouTube, Instagram, Spotify, iTunes, Twitter. Yeah. We're still tweeting sometimes.
Somewhat.
It's probably the least. Don't look for us on Twitter.
No.
Instagram, I believe we're on that. I don't.
Yes, we're on Instagram.
I've never got Instagram.
I don't use it
Just
myself.
photos, isn't it?
Yeah.
You guys actually get really good response on Instagram.
I've
Really?
noticed
Really?
that. Yes, we do. Which we have our producers over there to thank for, because Nag and I are hopeless, obviously. with our,
I don't know how it
with
works.
our social
I don't know
media
what,
usage.
I don't know what to do. Like, what do you do? Like, do you take photos? I
Take
don't
a
know.
photo and you put it up, and then people look at the photo.
Yeah.
Similar to Facebook, they offer a like,
Yes.
and then you have a big shit-stirring competition with your friends to see who can get the most likes, and then your friend group all breaks up.
Interesting. It's like
It's a destroyer of worlds.
TikTok. I'm reaching this point in my
Oh.
life where I'm becoming very disconnected with what's going on.
I don't know TikTok.
No, it's
all dancing.
It's dead. Why are they dancing?
I don't understand.
It's the life's full of confusion. Thanks for joining me, Liam. Thanks for joining us as well. We'll see you next week, Jess. Goodbye.
And it's a goodbye from me.
Yeah.